All right, now send me the link.
Send him the link, Ish.
Already did.
He said, send him again.
Already did.
He said he can't. He already did.
All right.
I sent it 3 times.
Send it 4 times.
We on.
Oh, come on, Mike, man. See how you is, yo.
Wow, I am. What are you talking about?
What's going on, man? Man, Ex-Nation of Islam strikes again. Boy, I tell you, man. Black African Power family. I'm a raw squad up. Well-organized lie. Defeats a disorganized truth every time. We was waiting on the Ex-Nation of Islam member, Michael Scott. And Nation of Islam will dumb you down, boy. It's hard to shake the card with.
Hey. I'm going to take offense to that.
All right. Oh, that's both of y'all. That's Ish. Man. I'm outnumbered today. All right. We're going to talk a little bit of politics early on. And then we can talk about the week that it was, right? Y'all know what it is. Real interesting week, man. Real interesting week here. Real interesting week. So, all right. Let's start off with, man, I think I'd like to first start off with the fact that there is supposed to be strength in numbers, right? And especially when you deal with politics, I call it politics. Because if you don't know the game, you're gonna be in trouble. And I heard a few of the candidates making statements basically saying that we're gonna meet the African American community. And I'm thinking to myself, damn, y'all don't know the African American community by now, right? I think the thing that's real interesting is we as a people just run out there and start voting, right? Mike said, well, really, the preachers pick the candidates for us and they go talk to the candidates. That's not really how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to put your money behind candidates, right? Put your money where your mouth is, okay? And they supposed to push forward the ideas based off you supporting them. It's just that simple. Like the I'm a Raw Squad, right? We have certain ideas that we promote and push. And if you support us, right, and those ideas, we supposed to coincide. All right? And that's why the gay right thing, they got their thing popping. That's why the Spanish community got their thing popping. Because they put their money where their mouth is. Whereas though we just go to church and let the preacher sell us down the road for any old body. Which is ass backwards. All right? So, Mike, you want to kind of jump in a little bit, man? Because I know you know a lot about that, them politics things.
Well,
talk to us.
Can you hear me?
And hear you loud and clear. Get some more people in the building. Go ahead.
What I was saying in reference to the religious community, you saw pastors surrounding Donald Trump, right? You saw that on the news. Quite a few pastors endorsed him. You had pastors endorsing the presumed Democratic nominee, Hillary Clinton. You got pastors around Bernie Sanders. And I think what we've done in the African American community to our detriment is that we assume that religious figures, pastors of churches, because of their historical value, that somehow they have a thorough understanding of politics, and we put them out there to represent us. You know what I'm saying? So it's no different than a person who comes into a lot of money or got to make a decision regarding their personal economics, going to their pastor for economic advice, or got a legal situation, so they go to their pastor for some legal advice, or they got a marriage counseling issue, so they go, or not even marriage, but they got an issue dealing with some type of psychological issue, so they go to their counselor for psychological guidance. And I think we make the mistake in our community of assuming that the pastors are the begin all and the end all for all the expertise. And politics is one of those areas where strategically we have been neglected in the black community. I mean, just drive through the hood. You can see that, right? That's obvious. There's a whole lot of neglect going on.
So you're saying basically like when the pastor becomes a marriage counselor, right? It makes absolutely no sense. When he becomes the economic advisor, the financial advisor, does all these things. So he's really not even qualified to be doing it. Okay, all right. Okay. So what you got to bring tonight, Mr. Mike? Talk to me.
Well, man, it's a lot of information in the news right now, and particularly one candidate your boy Donald Trump. And let me just say this from the onslaught. I am shocked and amazed that the mainstream media has not held his feet to the fire concerning his reputation. So, straight out the box, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump for the first reason is this: if you ever listen to his speeches, all he gives is platitudes. You know what a platitude is, right?
No, explain
Platitude
that.
is where you're so in layman's terms, you're just describing things in an attractive way that sounds good in the form of rhetoric. So I'm going to make America great. We're going to be so strong when I'm president. I'm paraphrasing, but this is his whole thing, and he really doesn't answer questions regarding specifics as it relates to politics or anything like that. All he has is platitudes, and he's going to make America great. America's going to be number one. We're going to beat the Chinese in trade. We're going to beat the Mexicans in trade. We're going to build a wall. We're going to be great. Our military is going to be strong. This dude is the most unsubstantive candidate, I think, in the history of the political zeitgeist in the United States, to put it lightly. But because we live in an era where people have been so dumbed down by the public school system, this comes across as being not only effective, but attractive. And some have even called him, the common man spokesperson, because he's just so plain they can understand him. The man is an idiot, man. He's an absolute fool. And not only that, but in terms of giving him some type of, kudos for being successful in business, he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. All right, so if you're born and you inherit $100 million and you turn it into $200 million, does that mean you're a successful businessman? I mean, really? You see what I'm trying to say? The man had more than a head start, but that is touted as being successful. Furthermore, and this is often forgotten, he's got a long history of housing discrimination in New York City. How come they don't talk about that, Ark? How come they don't discuss all the violations where he blatantly straight out has discriminated against people that weren't of a certain color? Can you answer that question for me?
No, I can't answer that question. I mean, that's called a pile of tricks.
So, in addition to that, I can go into real deep about his whole thing with the wall, but he is really just dumbing down the population, man. But I don't want to steal all the thunder. I'm gonna let the other brothers chime in.
You don't sell all the thunder.
I mean, I know everybody else got an opinion. You want me just to keep going?
Let me wait until you want to wait in right now.
Yeah, go ahead, Ish. I know you got some contributions, brother. You politically astute.
I would say that by my assessment, the African American community are political whores.
Ha!
So their votes are already taken for granted because they don't know the power of their votes, nor do they understand the ability to unify and focus properly with the power of that vote. Black people can dictate elections by certain key states like Ohio and certain things like that. They can sway the votes to have candidates catering to them. But we as black people don't hold candidates accountable. We don't walk in with demands, and we don't hold them accountable when they break those promises to us. So it's already taken for granted that you're a Democrat because your mother was a Democrat and your grandmother and grandfather were Democrats. And candidates already know this. And your justification for being a Democrat is simply because that's what my family's always been. Ignoring the fact that the Ku Klux Klan was founded by Democrats. Martin Luther King was a Republican. It was the Republicans that were against slavery. But either way, nowadays, choosing between Republicans and Democrats are just choosing between Lucifer and Satan. So you have your choice, but neither one of them are going to cater to you, and you don't understand that if you were an independent party, you could hold both of those parties accountable to you, and they would come to you and you'd be able to hold them accountable, because if they did not do right by you this election, you can punish them the next election. So they'll realize that there's a consequence for them breaking promises to you. But they cater to the needs of the homosexual community, the Asian communities, any other community, because they realize that they'll be held accountable for what they do. That's how I see it.
They sure did. I totally agree with you, and that was a hell of an analogy. I mean, we need to really learn the business of the day. That's it. We need to really learn the business of the day. Yes, I'm live. Yeah, so you know what I mean? We need to learn exactly what it is we need to do. A lot of times we don't take time to really indulge ourselves into certain matters because we think they're a little bit boring. If we're not cussing and fussing and howling and screaming, people aren't really interested. But we need to really get re-educated on things to do. And I always call it a pile of tricks because you got to understand the game. And the game definitely ain't fit to go in your favor. But what I do know is money talking, bullshit walk. All right? That's the real right there. And so let me ask y'all, do any of y'all think it possible for us to get someone in there with the mindset that we have? Would that be allowed? Right? Is it the such thing as allowing? How do y'all think that would work out?
Well, that's a good point, and if you don't mind, I'll chime in right here. You know, the owners of this country, and I don't say that with winning apprehension. There are people who literally own this country. They will not allow the billionaires, you know, the people that call the shots. They will never allow for a real populist candidate to be elected. Now, you might say, well, how can they stop it? Well, if you understand the political process, you know, it doesn't take a genius to figure out, right? We had about 10 or 12 Republican people or candidates seeking a nomination, right? We had like 4 or 5 when the Democratic primary started off seeking a nomination for the Democratic Party. So you got about 20 people all seeking to be president. And by time November of 2016 comes around, you'll be down to 2. Now ask yourself a question. Did the American people really have a choice in that process? Oh yeah, we have the illusion of choices with primaries and things like that, where they say we come in and we have caucuses and we vote and it gets narrower and narrower. But if you just look at your strategic aspect of political viability, the first thing they ask when a candidate runs for office is what? How much money does he have? Now, the candidates that I mentioned, the 20, right? And you got the Christie that's dropped out, O'Malley, your former mayor in Baltimore. I'm pretty sure you remember him, right on? He dropped out. You got all these candidates that have dropped out because they dropped out with the primary, right? The point is that set the stage to determine who was the more.
Somebody got moved there. They
Yeah, he got to put that on. Okay. So they're determining who's the most viable, how much money they have. And that alone limits the process and narrows the process down where only the most powerful, influential, wealthy people can determine who will get the nomination. So when you ask the question, can we get somebody to represent us in there? The answer is emphatically no. I would even go so far as to say, look at who contributes to campaigns, and that'll tell you who's really controlling the election process. So you don't really have a choice. The president is selected before he is elected. I mean, think about it, huh? You get 20 brothers, right? You, my man, Ish, my man. 20 candidates. Now, you two, my man. I make sure y'all get funded. And you can have all the debates you want. But at the end of the day, if you and Ish got the most money, I made the choice because I already selected that. You feel me? A good analogy is when my daughter was little, you know, even here in Atlanta, they hate to wear jackets. Kids hate to wear coats. It ain't cold. I ain't cold. So I'll play a trick with her. Right? Okay, you want to wear the purple sweater? You want to wear the blue sweater? You get to choose, Madison. You dig what I'm saying? She didn't really get to choose anything. But because I gave her the illusion of choice, she still wore a jacket, which is what I wanted to start with. And that's what they do in politics, right? You think you got a choice. You know, red team, blue team. And it's ironic that they use those colors. I think there's something psychological with that, right? Red and blue, Democrat, Republican. Pepsi and Coke is red and blue. You ever notice that? The Crips and Bloods are red and blue. You ever notice that? Democrat, Republican, red and blue. There's something to those colors. Anyway, I digress. But the point I'm trying to make is you really don't have a dog in this race. The elite, the powerful, the wealthy control the process, and they always have.
That's interesting. Okay, so how about this? So then, what are our alternatives then? If not the voting process, right? I heard you say that we should participate in that. Now, you basically saying we shouldn't participate?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I personally believe that on the local level is where the power is at, right? You know,
okay.
County, city, governor. The federal government is out of reach in terms of the money and influence that's there. You get an entertainment station. Look, does anybody understand when a person is elected president, they bring in, like, I'm looking at this right here. You can Google this. Just type it in. Number of employees in the executive office of the president. He has like something like 2,000 employees just in the White House alone. Now you picture a room with 2,000 people that's got to answer to you, that's in charge of various departments. That's first, right? Then you got to think of the size of the executive branch alone. Now when I say the executive branch, I'm talking about every major administrative branch. Department of Education, Department of Agriculture, the Pentagon, all of the military, right? You got to think about how large this is. You have to appoint directors, commissioners, and secretaries, and deputy directors, and all these departments. Do you really think that one man can have a handle on thousands of people like that on a daily basis? No, of course not. That's why when the president gets a speech, he has a speech writer who gives him a piece of paper and says, read this. He looks at a teleprompter that prompts him on what to say. So, in a sense, the presidency has been reduced to the job of a spokesperson. Anybody that thinks it's anything more than that is disillusioned. They just don't understand how it works. And it's sad because that's, you know, let me just go right into it about this Donald Trump thing and why I'm so upset and why I asked Ankh to do this call. And thank you, brother, for doing it. Donald Trump has convinced. He was on MSNBC last night doing a town hall. And during this town hall speech, he said that he was going to, if he became president, that he would take the trade deficits that the United States has experienced between trading with Mexico and countries like China, but specifically Mexico, $58 billion trade deficit, and he would take a portion of that money to build a wall to keep illegal immigrants out of the country. Have y'all heard that, him say that?
No, I haven't heard him say that.
Okay. This is a key element
I heard that.
of the platform. Now let me show you how stupid this is. So you have to, and the reason why I'm bringing up the idiocracy of this, and I don't even know if that's a word, is because I want to break down what a trade deficit actually is. And it should make you sick when you understand this. So the best way to describe a trade deficit is, let's say I'm selling oranges and I'm in the United States, right? And Ankh is selling apples and he's in Brazil. Ankh says, all right, Mike, now these are independent companies. I'm going to sell you 10 apples at $1 a piece. And I say, Ankh, I'm going to sell you 5 oranges at $1 a piece. Now this is an analogy, right? So you know what that has just created from my perspective as an American company to his Brazilian company? It has created a deficit of $5. See? And I sold him 5 oranges for $1 a piece. He sold me 10 apples for $1 a piece. That's a deficit of $5.
Okay.
So when a person gets on national TV and says that he's going to take basically an accounting measure, not even real money, it's just it's a dollar amount that is set aside to calculate the difference between trading. When he actually says on national TV that he's going to take this fictitious dollar amount and take a portion of that money to build a wall, it is an insult to my intelligence. It's an insult to anybody that got a basic understanding of economics. If you've taken an economic course, you know what he just said is a complete stupid statement. All right? But he's getting away with it. And he's getting away with it because he's basically throwing red meat to the blue collar, white American who really wants somebody to just come out and say, I hate Mexicans, right? I hate black people. And that's the guy. Donald Trump is the man for that job. So this group, they're not even either they can't think because they've been so dumbed down, right? Or they are ignoring the facts. Now, I mentioned that trade deficit thing because here's the significance. I pulled up some articles just to give you a basic understanding of how stupid the statement he made was. So most of the companies that are in countries like China, Mexico, are multinational global corporations who set up operations in China and Mexico as manufacturing bases or hubs so that they can get cheap labor. So when he makes the comment that the Chinese are winning and the Mexicans are winning and I'm going to be a tough trade negotiator and I'm going to get the best deal, he's either stupid or he's playing us for a fool. Because the people who he would be negotiating with wouldn't be the government of the United States. It would be the owners of the corporations in these countries who are in fact American investors. Now let me prove my point. If you look at this here, can y'all see that page? No?
No, it's great machine.
I got to share documents. All right, so let me go here. Share screen. And let me see here.
Y'all got the man.
How about now? Can you see the document?
No, not yet. I'm waiting.
Right here? Still can't see it. All right. I got it. I know how to do it now. So here, there. All right, what about now? Can you see the screen?
No,
Nope.
sir, not yet. Nope. We just
Still no. Okay. Well, I guess I'll just say what it is verbally because I thought the
You don't know how to share the document?
yeah, it says share screen Google Hangouts. When I click on it, it's just a page of the Hangout. It don't even show me my other documents.
Try clicking entire screen when you click share screen. You should have an option based on windows that you have open, and just click entire screen. And then once you have that shared, pull up the document, and you will be able to see it.
Okay, repeat that one more time for me. You said share entire. Repeat that one more time.
Okay, when you click screen share, you should have a bunch of windows that you can select to share your screen.
Right.
The one that's on the top left says entire screen. Just go ahead and click that,
Okay.
and then pull up your document that you want to share.
Okay. Chat entire screen. Is it possible to have too many documents up at one time? That could be prevented?
Not if you share your entire screen.
Now, the share entire screen option, where is that going to be? Where is that going to say that at?
On the left-hand side of the Hangouts application, there's a green arrow. It's a green box with an arrow in it.
Right.
You click that. The first thing on the left, on the top, says entire screen.
Okay. Then click share.
Yes.
All right.
There you go. Now we see what you're trying to show.
Here's the document. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. This is Entrepreneur Magazine, right? Apple's iPhone, designed in California but manufactured fast all around the world. Now, the article goes on to explain that the designing aspect of the iPhone, and everybody can relate to this because you got a cell phone, right? There's like 7.5 billion cell phones, only 7 billion people on the planet. But the design of the iPhone is in California, okay? The manufacturing or the basically the putting together of the actual phone itself, the assembling of it, is done in China. Some of the parts for it are made in places like Korea, Mongolia, Indonesia, and the Congo provides some natural resources for some elements as well. That's the iPhone, okay? That's the myth. Now here's another article, right? It's put out by Vox. How the iPhone widens the U.S. trade deficit. This article goes into detail in explaining that, I believe it was in, what year was that? 2009. The iPhone production actually increased the deficit, the trade deficit, by about $2 billion. Okay? Now again, this is an American company. The other thing is, the question is asked in Time magazine, because the trade deficit is so big as a result of Apple manufacturing outside of the country, is Apple bad for the American economy? Okay? Hope y'all getting this. $1.9 billion deficit in 2009. This is like 6-7 years ago, right? Discussing the iPhone. Now, this is important because, well, before I get there, iPhone or Apple is the second largest producer of cell phones on the planet. Huge company. Guess who owns it? Top 5 Apple shareholders: Tim Cook, Arthur Levinson. These people right here, Vanguard Funds, these are American companies with American interests. So this is why I say that what's his name, Donald Trump, is playing us for a fool. Because how in the world can he negotiate with China when China is not the producer of the products that are creating the deficit? The producers of the products that are creating the deficits are Americans who manufacture goods in these other countries. I hope that makes sense. But when he gets on television and says that he's going to negotiate with China to get us a better deal, who are you going to negotiate with? His billionaire friends? You dig what I'm saying? So it's a lie. One or two things are happening. Either he's stupid and he don't understand how trade works, trade deficits work and what it means, or he think everybody else is stupid. Either way, he's not good. I hope y'all feel me on that. I hope that was clear.
It was clear. And rewind that tape on that. Well, see, I mean, based off of that statement, shit, we're gonna have to do like we had to do like we need to do. 'Cause money talking, bullshit walk. And really, if we got the cash on deck, you can basically do what you want to do in America. You know, you can buy the businesses you want to buy. You can change your community, right? It's just cooperative economics there. You know, we put all our pennies together, and we're a mighty force, right? We could single-handedly start controlling all the businesses within our community. You know what I'm saying? And I guess some of the problems we would have is people are actually wanting to sell us property in the community. I think that might be a problem. But at the end of the day, if you just transform houses and stuff into businesses that you own, turn out, you feel me? Turn out certain things, get certain permits pulled, pay the money, get the thing. I mean, we could run people out of our community. You know what I'm saying? This is what we have to do. Since you just took the voting option off the table.
Well, you know what? Controlling the politics and the economics is key, right? You can't have one with the other without the other, or it's a dysfunctional relationship. I totally agree with that. In terms of the black community, though, you know, black professionals, man, we run, and I'm including myself in that, and everybody else that has made it out the hood, so to speak. You know, one paycheck away from being back in the hood, right? We left the hood. Everybody on the planet know where to go get paid at but us. Right? The people from India, people from Asia, people from the United Arab Emirates, everybody in the world know if you want to make money in America, open a store in the ghetto. Not just the black community. You got to put that joint like down. You know what I'm talking about. People just got off the boat, just got their green card. They go to the roughest neighborhoods.
To the bluff.
And set up shop, right? We get scared. We get a college degree. Oh, man, it's bad down here. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Now, if they understand where that money's at, how come we don't understand where that money's at? Huh?
I think we understand it.
It's a hell of a disconnect there, man.
Man, you know, it'll be easy for us to traverse in the hood because we know a lot of people in there. So I mean, I don't know why it's right here. Like I always say, the battle is always a mental battle, man. No matter what, no matter how you shape it up,
Right.
it's always mental. I'm just amazed on how I'm listening to some of these candidates, and it's like you're in a no-win situation, man. You know, at the end of the day, you're gonna need somebody that's going to protect the interests of the United States based off of the fact that we live here. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need weak leadership. And we ain't got to agree with none of that. So I guess at the end of the day, we need to pick what we think strong leadership is. What you think about that, Mike?
When you say strong leadership, to me, it's like you falling into the same thought pattern that they really are in control.
Okay. So,
but they are.
Why I say that? Do you know that in the Obama administration, he carried over like 4 or 5 department heads from the Bush administration? Did you know that?
No.
Including the Secretary of Defense, Bill Gates, who was also the former head of the CIA, who was also a former deputy Secretary of Defense, I think, under the Reagan administration. So here's my point: somebody like Gates is a permanent fixture in the political establishment. So to think that Obama, for example, can somehow have an effect, right, on the military when you got people permanently in place in the military-industrial complex is silly. It's right here. See this book? Can you see this?
Yeah, from the shadows. That's it.
Robert Gates.
Hmm.
All right, his book, he break down his experience in government over the last 20 years. Former director of the CIA, former, like I said, Secretary of Defense, you know, in several administrations. So I hear what you're saying when you say you got to pick somebody that's strong, but dude, it don't even matter. It really don't even matter at the end of the day.
All right, let somebody else weigh in.
Can I comment?
Yeah,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was asking. Go ahead.
Yeah, one thing about financing in light of economic empowerment, in our communities, we lack the prerequisite and one-on-one understanding of the modern mechanics of money. Money is a mechanical system in which it empowers a social and political construct, and economy bolsters those two constructs. Talk about politics, the equity in politics are the people that generate votes. Those votes are then treated as if a dollar was treated. It creates a debt. And false sense of security under the auspicity of freedom, because we traded our security in for freedom. And in that freedom, we were marred by convenience. And because we're giving candidates to choose from instead of creating candidates to choose from, it's paradoxical. And what appears to be is not. And if we don't start becoming more financially astute and creating our own economic commonwealth, we're going to kind of be lost in that diatribe, because the U.S. dollar is a debt marker that incurs tax upon the individual that holds that dollar. So when the system tells you save money, you are operating as a chattel dependent or an indentured slave. And the indentures are the statutes and codes of an original constitution. The Constitution on its face says that anyone of African descent, i.e. slavery, is 3/5. It still stands in that aspect. So because we are not an independent entity that creates production within our social structure, we are consumers, and we do not know how to maintain the circulation of our revenue in a privatized Republican form of commonwealth, and certain terms and definitions that are applicable to economic language, and not use layman language and perceive that we understand it from a layman's term. We have to understand lawyers speak legalese, doctors speak medical language. You have to know how to speak economical and political language. The same word that is used in a layman's form does not necessarily mean it in a profession form. Especially when the brother Ankh talks about theory and science, you can't as defendants, and politics are specialized of people. So we do have to start with one-on-ones and prerequisites of our cultured people and make that a focal point.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned one-on-one. And if you got a second, Brother Ankh, I would like to show the group some information about that.
Go for it.
So the brother mentioned understanding the language of money. And, you know, have y'all ever heard of the term the recycling petrodollar?
Nope.
Okay. Has anybody ever heard of the petrodollar? This is important because in 1973, the United States went off of the gold standard, right? And when we went off of the gold standard, can y'all see that? Recycling petrodollars, can y'all see that document?
Yep, I see it.
All right. So when we went off of the gold standard, basically we had, because let me just say this, before we went off the gold standard, here's the reason why. Because the gold was shrinking, right? And the administration at the time, the Nixon administration, had to come up with a way to basically stop the country from going bankrupt. We didn't have enough gold to pay our debts with. And at the time, the Prime Minister of France, de Gaulle, was coming to collect his gold from the United States, right? We stopped him. You can Google this, right? It's an amazing story, because then you come to understand why gold is so tied, or pardon me, why money, the dollar, is so tied to oil. As a result of that, we got a relationship going with the Saudis and other Arab countries like Iraq and the Arab Emirates. And we said to them, look, you can only sell your oil exports for dollars. Okay? That's the deal. And as a result of that, we'll basically provide your countries with security. And that's why whenever these countries in Arabia and other places are attacked, you hear terminology like it's against the interests of the United States to let these countries not be protected. Again, let me give you this website here. For anybody that wants to see this information for themselves and do the research, all you need to do is type in IMF, right, recycling petrodollars, or IMF system in crisis. And you will see how the United States moved to a gold standard to an oil standard as a result of the fact that we didn't have enough gold to back up the debts that we created. Now, what did that do? That created a dollar, right, that's based solely on the production of oil on the planet. This is why when you get somebody like Saddam Hussein who says, I'm going to sell my oil for euros, they open up a can of democracy on his ass. This is why when Gaddafi says, I'm going to set up a new African currency called the gold dinar, they open up a can of democracy on his ass. This is why the people in Syria right now is having so many issues, is because the United States is seeking to create a pipeline, an oil pipeline, that will stretch to the Mediterranean, but it's got to go through Syria. But as a result of Assad, the current leader in Syria, not playing ball, they had to open up a can of democracy on his ass via proxy through ISIS and so-called terrorists. That's a whole nother conversation.
Oh, hold on, freeze that. Say that again, Mike. So you saying basically they actually hired, basically saying they hired ISIS to do the dirty work, huh?
Repeat that?
are you saying that the United States hired ISIS to attack Syria?
Here's what I am saying.
Because that sound, I mean, that runs familiar.
Well, this will answer your question.
Okay.
You familiar with this book right here?
Give us a reference. Let's see it.
This is Zbigniew Brzezinski's book called The Grand Chessboard.
Okay.
Right? For those that don't know, Zbigniew Brzezinski was the national security advisor under President Carter. Brzezinski helped fund the then Mujahideen, which eventually became known as the Taliban, which eventually supported what you call Al-Qaeda to overthrow the Russians in Afghanistan. This book breaks down the grand chessboard of the world.
Okay.
And essentially we have been using so-called terrorist groups, right, probably for the latter part of the last 50 years to fight our dirty wars for us. This is not a secret. Everybody knows this. In fact, if you give me a minute, I can show you a picture of Ronald Reagan meeting with the Mujahideen in the Oval Office. Would you like me to pull that up for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know,
so, you don't know it's a pile of tricks, Mike.
you know, in understanding geopolitics, we understand our position.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem. So go ahead and talk, brother. Let me pull this up because I think it'll be real interesting for everybody to see this photo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, basically, we talk about the Contra hearings and how they funded the Contras. You know what I'm saying? With the guns and trade for the cocaine. And so, man, this is absolutely exactly what they do. And I would like to say it's not even a conspiracy. It's just the order of business. I mean, you know, like the United States used the mob as a terrorist group against the Africans during the time of Harlem when the Africans had their game to end up being $1 billion industry these days. It's called policy. You know, read the book. Name the book is called Policy Sam, I believe. All right? I'll look for it on my shelf. But they absolutely use the mob as a strong arm. So they always use terrorist groups, strong arming. I mean, that's what they do. Like, keep your own hands clean. Right? It always looks bad when you're doing it yourself. So, yeah, that's a good book right there on the Grand Chessboard. I'm going to add that to my library. You've been told me about that. Kind of shows you how they scheme and scam and do what they do. Very important.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Oh, you have the picture. Okay.
Yeah,
I wanted to reiterate what the brother is saying.
Yeah, I see that picture right there.
Hold on for a minute, Mike.
I'm saying I just want to make sure you can see that image.
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead.
All right, good.
Well, that's where we get the disparaging problem of saying these are Democratic parties. It is a demographic. It is a political geosystem in which we're forced to make a choice of given sides. And Mike is talking exact fact on the fact of we're not into geopolitical status. We are satisfied with our chattel status. And that is very important because the cog in the wheel is that we do not have anything vested in global equity. We have no global equity, and because we have no global equity, we are not in a means to say that we are in power. Like if somebody just blatant use a blatant statement like Black Power, there is no exhibition of any power because we're not supreme in any action. We do not have control of any market share. We could take Michael Jordan and put him up against a backdrop of other people and say that he would be successful. However, he's an employee of a successor. If I wanted to control Michael Jordan, I control the NBA. He's a cog in a wheel, but we are not the cog. We're watching from afar. So it seems greater. We seem to think we're greater than what we really are. And I do appreciate the conversation that the brother Mike is bringing to the table because these are conversations that we choose not to entertain. So I do appreciate that, brother Mike.
Oh yeah, man. This is Raw Squad, man. We don't stay one way, man. We multifaceted right here, brother. I mean, you know, we getting it on all levels, man. We're not gonna stay stuck on things. I mean, you know, we're gonna keep the wheels turning in your head, man, because the revolution won't be televised because it takes place in the mind. And so we're gonna keep growing. We're gonna cover everything with information. Go ahead, brother Mike.
Well, you know, the brother brings up an interesting point about the banking establishment in this country. And when you really understand what's happening or what has happened in terms of finance, it's really game over, not just for the black community. It's game over for America, because with the onset of a global economy, you have multinational corporations that have made it clear that if they can produce, you know, a widget, an iPhone, whatever, paying somebody 25 cents an hour, they are going to do that. I mean, it's simple economics. The benefit that we've had over the last, since 1973, is that having the dollar as the world reserve currency in terms of purchasing oil has forced every country on the planet to store dollars in order to buy oil. Now, why are they buying oil? Well, oil is the engine that runs everything. It runs everything in our economy, from agriculture to plastics to manufacturing. There's no country that can survive without oil. So what the United States basically did was like grand chessboard. It was a chess move. Okay, I ran out of gold, but everybody need oil. Guess what? If you don't have the dollar to buy oil, you can't operate. Okay? And so if you notice, and geopolitically speaking, I know we're going off the track a little bit, but it's so important that I give this information. When you look at the banks that have really benefited, Citibank, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, all these major corporations, they make up what we call the Federal Reserve Bank. Now, a lot of people have come to the understanding that the Federal Reserve is not federal at all. It's as federal as the Federal Express. It's a privately owned company. Now, how does it work? The top banks in the Federal Reserve banking cartel, as a result of their deposits, that determines how much voting power they have in the Federal Reserve. So right now, if you Google Federal Reserve member banks, you'll see Citigroup at the top, Bank of America, can't forget JP Morgan Chase, right? You'll see the top banks. These banks have been around forever, right, in some form or another. They determine the monetary policy of the country, and they, in fact, are the puppeteers, if you will, behind the dollar, behind the military-industrial complex, right? It's so important that we understand the geopolitical and economic structure of the banking system so that we can now really see why Africa, Asia, and so many other countries can't get out the mud, so to speak. So let me give a quick history lesson. In 1973, when the oil crisis happened and the dollar became the world's reserve currency as it relates to buying oil, the IMF and the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, they went into all these countries that had recently declared their independence, right? Countries in Africa and Asia that said, we're fully done with colonialism. We're going to rebuild our economies. We're going to become a strong, independent nation. World Bank, which is the United States, International Monetary Fund, which is the United States through the UN. They said, great, Uganda, you want to be free? That's what I'm talking about. Here's a check, 200 million. Get your act together, right? And they took the money. A lot of the leaders, I'm not going to go there, you know what they did, but here's the point. The money came with strings attached. The money came with high interest. And when that interest debt was due, the United States and the World Bank, they came to collect. They collect on the people through the infrastructure, through the natural resources, and they were able, as a result of the debt, to negotiate imbalanced trade deals with these countries that allowed big corporations from America and Europe to come in and strip the natural resources because the country was vulnerable. And they got vulnerable like a lot of people get vulnerable. You go out, you get a high interest loan, you get yourself in a lot of debt. Now basically you got to do whatever the mob tell you to do or they're going to break your legs, right? Same concept. And that's why you have countries that can't get themselves out of this spiral of debt, and their people are starving and their resources are being stripped. Now, everything that those major corporations have done across the world, they're starting to do in the United States because there is no manufacturing base. Now you see countries or companies that used to provide great jobs to Americans, like General Motors and other companies, saying, if you're a new employee, you working on the plant, guess what? You don't get paid the same amount as the senior employees. We're going to negotiate a different deal with you. And, you come in at $15 an hour when your father came in at $20 an hour, so to speak, because there's no manufacturing base anymore, because the international corporations have set up manufacturing in other countries to drive down the cost. And so we're going to find ourselves, like a lot of the quote-unquote third world countries, in a situation where we don't have any natural resources, where we're getting stripped by the government, where they're coming in and basically doing what they want. Now you might say, Mike, what's an example of private corporations doing what they do in places like Africa with resources? Prime example is in Detroit, Michigan. In Detroit, Michigan, for example, I know Flynn has been in the news, but did you know that when Detroit went bankrupt, that a lot of their publicly held institutions like museums and parks were bought up by private corporations? Understand what I'm saying? At one time, sports arenas around this country were owned by the cities and municipalities that they resided in. Now you go to any sports arena around the country, you see Phillips Arena, HSBC Arena, Wells Fargo Arena. It's the same thing. I'm trying to bring this home to y'all to let you see that the multinational corporations, the ultimate bloodsuckers, right, of the people, they are coming home to roost, as Malcolm said, right here in America. Sorry for the run on, brother.
I want to run on. Very interesting right there. Very, very interesting. You want to add something about this? How about you, Joe? Black African Power, what's good, Joe?
Black African Power. I'm enjoying the talk. I came in late, so I'm trying to absorb it. And the brother's dropping some good knowledge. I'm just sucking it in. I don't have any comments as of yet.
Okay. Yeah. How about you, Brother Ish?
Well, I know like a couple weeks ago, we posted up Mugabe in Zimbabwe and his relationship with China. And in doing that, people were asking, what is with this strange alliance? And, one of the major reasons would be because China gives him the muscle, military-wise, as well as giving him a balance and a currency of what it takes in order to supply an infrastructure for the nation. This is something that a person has to take into consideration, because if you don't have the right military backing, you can be overcome either by fellow neighboring African countries, or even a more broader nation can come and take you over. So you have to be backed by sometimes other entities, and with China being willing to supply him with the weaponry, with the financial stability of what it needs, he actually has to give up a little in order to have this relationship, but it pales in comparison with some of the other offers of people that can say, oh no, we can give you some currency to stabilize your market. So I'm sure, like I said, he's choosing from the lesser of two evils, which is a decision that many different nations would have to make and will have to make in the future. And we have to be selective as far as for African people who, we choose to engage with. All money ain't good money, and you always have to read the fine print. to realize that you may be giving up more than just your sovereignty in these relationships. So as much as possible, you have to make sure that you're maintaining the dominant position when you engage in these relationships with these other entities.
Okay. All right.
You know, brother, another good point to bring up is this book right here. This is a very popular one. This is one I was telling you about earlier, written by John Perkins. Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Y'all familiar with this one?
No, I haven't. I heard of it.
Yeah, very, very much so.
Excellent book, man. And this guy breaks down how, you know, first they would send in the CIA to take over countries, like, you know, the overthrowing of Mossadegh in Iran, you know, and other leaders. But now they don't go in like that. Now they go in with corporations. And these corporations cut deals with various leaders. And if the leaders don't act right, don't respond well to the deal, then they can expect, you know, things like embargoes. And in a lot of cases, especially in South America, they can expect assassination. And this is serious business. You know, I don't have a solution to the black community in terms of what we have to do as a people, other than we got to start, you know, using the resources that we have around us. Going back to that original point, Unc used to always tell me, I would ask him, say, brother, you know, how do you come up with these different business ideas or whatever? And he told me flat out, he said, man, I look around me and look at what I got access to. I hope I'm giving you justice in explaining this, Unc, but I'm paraphrasing. But you basically, you look at what's observable and you take advantage of the observable universe that you in, right?
Yeah, that's basic 101. Yep.
That's the solution to our condition. As far as what's happened on a global basis, let me say this. Chris Rock put it best. He said, America is like the uncle who molested you and sent you to college. We have a very crazy relationship with America.
That's right.
But there's no way in hell I'm giving up my American passport. I'm not doing it. Not doing it. There are too many advantages to it. At the same time, I'm not tap dancing for nobody. Feel me? I understand where I'm at on the global chessboard, and I got to use it to the best of my ability for the benefit of my community and for myself. That's just real. Anybody that thinks that all of this information means that Mike is getting on a damn plane or a boat, you're sadly mistaken. Now, what's saying that? Let me also say this. I gotta say this, brother. I said this on the last hangout, and I don't know if a lot of people know this. I'm a huge fan, which most of us are in the conscious community, of Marcus Garvey, Dr. Martin Luther King. But if you see my video on Dr. King, and when I refer to him as a national security threat, you understand why. When King and Garvey started talking about economics, that's when they became a threat to the establishment, right? Garvey had the luxury of being the first person that J. Edgar Hoover ever went after. Did you know that? That there wasn't even an FBI when they went after Marcus Garvey. J. Edgar Hoover was a little upstart working in the Attorney General's office in D.C. And one of his first projects was to go after Garvey, right, for economic reasons. So I don't want y'all to think that that was somehow, you know, me backsliding on my nationalistic perspective in terms of keeping my passport. But we live in a different reality, man, and we gotta exploit that reality to the benefit of our community and to our families and for ourselves.
I mean, hey, that's basic. When dealing with any opponent or adversary, you gotta exploit that. I'm saying it's not an overnight thing we're doing right here. So in any game or contest, man, sometimes you gotta take what's available to you, right? I think this is very, very important to do that. All right, you know, I coach basketball, and sometimes a team is very good in certain areas, But in being very good in certain areas, they lack in certain areas. And so they'll live or die. Like sometimes some teams aren't good at defending the 3-point line. And so you got to take that for a while. You might not want to live on the 3-point line, but you got to take it. Take it enough where you force them out of their defense, right, and do what they really don't want to do. They want to give you that, but they don't want to pack it in because you got a dominant big man down there. All right? So you bring them out a little bit, and then you can exploit them again. And that's basically what it's all about. It's about this chess game and, taking the things we can take advantage of, right? A lot of times people want to just get up and run. I say the hell with that. I say we built this motherfucker. This is just as much ours as anybody's. Blood, sweat, and damn tears around here. And so before I go abroad and help Africans, I want to help the Africans right here. That's just been my stance. You want to add something there, Brother Ish?
I think we always reserve the right to for dual citizenship without having to give up our indigenous rights here. We reserve the right to claim absolutely what's ours in our motherland also. So there's countries that offer that. I embrace that, no different than what Jews do in Israel also. So I always reserve that right to take back what's mine on both sides. I did not have an option, not unlike many of us, of coming here. And there are tribes that owe me from over there, and I have a blood birthright to the ownership here and indigenous rights here also. So I reserve the rights for both.
Yeah, there you go. And there you have it. That's what it is. Anybody want to add something to that?
Yes, actually, I do agree, man. I know there's been a big resurgence of status correction and talking about statusing and all this kind of thing. And it is very misleading. It can be very dangerous because, again, being fundamentalists, we tend to have a problem with. We live in America where we can actually go in our homes and turn on water and have access to it. We have civil liberties that we can use to our advantage with having the proper understanding and comprehension of the status we're presently in. The false sense of security, by means of convenience, is really what creates the problem. We have convenience stores. We've lost the intimate relationship with our pastoral relationship with the land and agriculture, because we've been forced to be raised in cities that are surrounded by concrete. We don't realize that only 42% of the United States is inhabited. The rest is uninhabited. We don't even understand that. And 52% of the 40% is urbanized. So we are concentrated in these desolate areas, and we don't even know our own quantumization. We don't really truly know how many of us are out here to be able to say, well, let's leave here. This is such a bad place. Let's leave here and go be poor somewhere else. It's not fundamentally sound or strategically sound, not realizing that we're in a war that goes beyond color. This is a classism war, and we're dealing with things that are far deeper than that. And we do have to change our paradigm and our lens in 2016. We got to change that.
Okay. All right.
Excellent point. Could I bring up another subject too, brother, since we're on the conversation of politics?
Go for it.
The Supreme Court Justice Demon Anthony Scalia recently died. I hope that if there is a hell, that he is getting his full share of that hell. Y'all familiar with Anton Scalia?
No, I'll go for it.
Now, let me just give you a breakdown of how much of a demon this dude was. He was the Republican lion of the Supreme Court. In fact, a lot of decisions against, what they would call interest groups African Americans in particular, he came down so hard, so hard. So just to give people an idea of the kind of person he was, I want to share with you an article in 2009 about Mr. Anthony Scalia. Can y'all see that from the Business Insider? Y'all see that article?
Yep, we see it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anthony Scalia, and he actually pronounces Anthony Scalia. In relationship to the Troy Davis case here in Atlanta, this brother spent 30 years in prison, was exonerated through DNA, had 9 witnesses come back and basically say he was innocent. The dissenting argument as to why he should not be given reprieve from the Supreme Court is as follows. I'm quoting Scalia. This court has never held that the Constitution forbids the execution of a convicted defendant who has had a full and fair trial, but is later able to convince a habeas court that he is actually innocent. Scalia wrote in a 2009 dissent of the court's order for a federal trial court in Georgia to consider the case of death row inmate Troy Davis. He goes on to say, quite contrary, we have repeatedly left the question unresolved while expressing considerable doubt that any claim based on alleged actual innocence is constitutionally, what is that? Cognizable? Listen, man, in a nutshell, this dude basically said, I know you innocent. I know you spent 30 years in prison. I know you got all these witnesses. I know you can prove that you're innocent. I don't really give a shit. We're going to kill you anyway. You will get no justice. That's the type of stuff that this guy is notorious for. But in the mainstream media, they will not bring this up because somehow death, puts that period on a person's life where they become saints. And it's fucked up. So I thought I would just throw that in there for everybody to talk about.
Did you see the definition of actual innocence right below that?
No, let me go back to that. They gave a definition for it?
What's going on, bro?
Right. Look below that.
Wow.
The legal definition of actual innocence is the absence of facts required to convict someone based on criminal statute. That is actual innocence. I mean, if you don't have any facts that is required to convict someone based on an allegation, which is a violation of a criminal statute, then you are innocent.
Right.
So that even, I mean, I'm just supporting what you're saying. It's crazy that a person could be actually innocent, and then he says that there's nothing in the Constitution that forbids them to still execute you.
Right. But he is credited and held as being somebody who was a strict constitutional jurist. Right. He is held up as being somebody that always stood his ground and stood for the Constitution. Another example that I can bring up that I don't have with me is in 2000, right? Everybody remembers the Gore versus Bush when they were contesting in Florida who won the election, and the state of Florida said, hey, give us a chance to count the ballot. And the Supreme Court said, nope, federal government going to decide this. So to say that he is a strict constitutionalist who believes in or advocates states' rights, another example. I mean, this dude is a demon, man, and I hope that he's getting his fair due in wherever he's at in the afterlife. I really do.
I believe if I saw the report correctly, it's from NBC. They reported that President Obama is not going to attend his funeral.
Right. Right. So. Well, Brother Art, it's like you on a personal call.
Yeah, I left the building.
Yeah, he left the building. I'm going to watch this MSNBC.
I ain't left no building.
Yeah, Uncle was out there.
It's customer service, man. I had a brother inquiring about one of his orders, man. Get out of here, man. Money talk.
You know the debate is coming on, right? The town hall between Sanders and Clinton.
Well, I know you'll be watching that, Mike. I'll let you do the update. I'm rarely on TV like that, but I know
Well,
you.
you know what? I don't like TV either, brother. I feel you on that. You know what I mean? But you know, for some people, football is their sport of choice. For some people, for me, my sport of choice is politics.
Yeah, I know it is, and you do a good job at it. Spook is set by the door.
Oh man, that's cool.
Yeah,
A lot of people don't know about that book, man. That story. You gotta talk about that one day.
yeah, maybe we'll talk about that. We bring that up, man. So, anybody got anything else to add, man? We don't want to drag on, man. I thought it was a very healthy conversation. You know, we changed gears back and forth. It's important, man. You know, we don't do one thing well. We do a lot of things real, real good. All right, I just want y'all to understand about the team. So, you know, yeah, we got all the damn bases covered around here, man. And also, we had a powerful week. Real, real powerful week. We was in museums. Me and Brother Ish had an excellent discourse in one of the largest museums in the world, the Museum of Natural History in New York, man. Got a chance to talk to some of the scientists, the resident scientists that work for the joint. And, you know, y'all can go on YouTube and check that out to see just where our level of knowledge is. And I think that conversation was very, very important because certain people in this community want to lead you to believe that it's not essential for black people to be involved in science and technology because it's the so-called white man thing. Dumbest thing you can ever do. You let go science, man, you let go everything you got. You let go the thing that can put you back where you need to be. All right? We need to be teaching brothers and sisters science in the community. They need to be able to understand what infrastructure is and how to handle it. They definitely need to know the math and the sciences. We need to learn how to do we need to learn how to build houses. We need to learn how to do everything that we need to do, okay, to be a valuable people first in America and then abroad. Very, very important, man. That's why you see these Koreans own a lot of strip malls, a lot of business, a lot of property. They do a lot of their own work, okay, because they're learning, all right? We can't sit around dumbfounded, blaming, pointing the finger, all right? It's very, very essential for us to get back interested in science and technology. And for the record, America does not lead the world in science. All right, let's just really get that straight. You know, they've been doing what they've been doing. You know, they import people. All right, same thing with the creation of nuclear bomb, Alma. I think German. They always import talent, man. So let's just get that straight and covered. Anybody want to close out with something? You, Brother Ish? You want to talk about the week it was?
Well, yeah, the week was definitely very, very powerful. Please feel free to check out the clips on a Raw Squad video show. You can also see some of the highlights on Sunday TV, Baba TV. Very productive week. We covered a lot of ground. We had a lot of inside information, even just in between different cities doing interviews in the car. So it was an overabundance of information. Dr. Mayat was there. Just a whole lot of outreach. Brother Jonathan's now overseas on a little getaway. And we're just, you know, busy and staying busy. On the political side of things, one of the mighty political minds, Tip O'Neill, said all politics are local. And that's very, very true. You know, you get your strength on the local level, dealing with your local legislation, your local governments. And from there, you can parlay that power into demands of the state. And then from the state, you can go on into the higher levels. But it all starts local. So if you're down in your local areas, you know, start talking to your councilmen and the people who are supposed to be representing you. Hold them accountable. Hold them to the fire, because these are the people that you can tangibly reach. And I mean that physically. So hold them accountable locally, and then with those local changes, you'll start to see a change of people that can get those funds to your local community and to maybe programs that you can develop for yourself, you know. And then by doing that, then that gives you a bit of a foothold so that you can then start to parlay that to other councilmen in other counties. So all politics are local, and please just, you know, get busy politically as well as grassroots.
Okay. Hey, Mike, let me ask you a quick question, man. Somebody on Facebook, man, wants to answer the question.
Go ahead.
He says, what's the reason behind America potentially changing its currency to the Emerald dollar? Familiar with that?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. That was a popular theory that was floated around probably for the last 10, 15 years, that we would combine with Mexico and Canada and create a regional currency called the Americo, or the Amerigro. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right or not. But the point is this, man. That's all well and good, but the world's reserve currency is the dollar. There is no need to create a new currency. The dollar is the currency of choice on a global stage. If you challenge the dollar, somebody will open up a can of democracy on your ass. You can be assured of that. All right? One prime example of that recently is you've heard of the BRIC nations. Have you ever heard of that term?
No.
The BRICS nations are Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. If you can Google that, and it's a great reads, a lot of material out there on BRICS nations. They wanted to set up a global bank that would counter our Federal Reserve banking system, which was set up with the Bretton Woods Agreement after World War II. But they wanted to set up a counter bank to that. Now, I'm just ask yourself, because I'm not a conspiracy theorist, right? I'm a conspiracy analyst. Get that straight. The reason I said it is because if you look at what's happening with Russia right now, so everybody is so happy they're going to the gas station. Gas is $1.50, right? They're like, damn, this is great.
Right, goddamn.
Right, this is good. How did that happen?
Wow.
Grand chessboard. Let me tell you why that's going on. About 1/5 of Russia's economy is oil exports. The chess game is to hurt oil-rich countries who want to be down with this BRICS nation, right? I don't know if y'all heard about this little mosquito in Brazil recently, right? Brazil got the Olympics. Y'all heard about that?
Yeah, I heard about it.
The point is, man, that can of whoop ass can be opened up in many different forms if you if you challenge the big dog. I'm not going to digress any more than that. China's going through
put a mosquito there, man. Don't be running.
Listen, man, I know y'all.
Steer people away from the Olympics.
I know y'all don't want to go there with me tonight. I'm going to leave that for another conversation because a lot of y'all don't believe that rich, powerful people get together and plan shit.
Oh, why not?
Y'all just don't believe that.
What are you talking about, Mike? That was a fucking plan. You think they just jumped and did that shit?
Hey,
let's go get a nigga real quick. Let's go get him.
Some people don't believe that the rich, powerful people plan stuff. I mean, they just don't. But whatever.
Whatever, nigga. Everybody playing. That's the problem. The Africans are no longer long-term planners. That is the problem.
But I wanna echo Brother Ish comment. I want everybody to get involved in your local politics. I'm extremely active, and one of the reasons I got active was because if a young person get hurt, shot by the police in my neighborhood, I may not be able to respond like I want to. Wink, wink. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But I know who to call and hold some people accountable. Because I live here, I need to be involved in the politics of where I live. For my children, for the children of my neighbors, and shit. Just because I'm a man. Stand up like a man, pull up your pants, and get control of the politics where you live. That's where I'm at. Regardless of what they do in D.C. So big ups to Ish for pointing that out. All politics is local. Tip O'Neill, Speaker of the House, back in the 80s. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at, man. Thank you for this hangouts, brother.
Hey, man. All right.
Brother Michael, you did an excellent job. Thank you so much for leading on that. You did an excellent job and kept the flow going very, very well. I salute you for that. I'm sorry, brother. Please continue.
Yeah, University Chemic Press, man. Official books of the Amaral Squad, man. All right, this is their new book, Barack. All right, United States Birth, Development, Decline, Regression, Before the Leap, and Passing, 1607 to present, man. The Kiki Kilimanjaro, Ifa Kilimanjaro, both PhDs, husband and wife.